Last one. Choose 3 words that describe your life as a pro triathlete.
Free, intense, fulfilling. At the end of 2019, I came back from Kona. I was on the podium again and I thought the best 2 years in the sport is in front of me. But what really was there was I didn't have the same excitement to leave home. Packing my bike and doing like the same stuff over and over again. I wasn't excited about it anymore, going to another airport, another training camp and so on and so on. I didn't really loved it anymore. I mean, it was like a job, but all the things around the training and the racing, I really started to hate it. On the one hand side, I knew that this probably took away the 2 best years in my career, because I thought this is like almost the last push. At the same time, it made me really appreciate the lifestyle I had before. So I really started to enjoy again to go out, exploring places, go on a plane. I think I'll definitely miss a lot of the things. At the same time, I know I could just stay motivated with knowing that this really is my last year. Otherwise, I think I would have not been able to try to motivate and push myself again and again. Now it's definitely got easier. Now, it's probably just another 150, 200 swim sessions left in my life that I really have to do. It's crazy to think about that, because you learn to lie to yourself so much. You always say like, okay, this is the last rep. This is the last day in this training block. This is the last race of the year, and then you're gonna have a break. But it always continues, there's always a next year, a next training block, a next training camp, a next preparation for a next race. But now when you really get the word out, this is gonna be my last year. At the beginning, I would say this was just a dream. Of course, as a kid, you don't really know the difference between a goal and a dream. I would always say a goal is something that has to be at least not completely impossible. At that time, I think the odds were like it was completely impossible to achieve this. Over the years, of course, you realize there might be a possibility, but it took until 2006, 2007 or so. It's not just some crazy dream, but it is actually something that you can achieve. So for a long time, I told nobody about this anymore. As a kid, you don't hold back. You tell everybody, yeah, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be this, I want to be that. Because you don't know what it takes, what you have to do to get there. Then you get older and you realize like how small the chances are that you actually achieve this. You probably still dream, but you don't tell the outside anymore, like every day, I want to be this and I want to achieve that. So yeah, it took me until I turned like 20 or so, 23, to pick that up again and actually be vocal about my goal that I want to win the Ironman World Championships. sometimes it just feels like it's going on forever. You know, I don't think about this is gonna be my last year, this is gonna be the last this, the last that. Sometimes it's just this everyday routine, like I'm doing this for 20 years now, and you have the feeling it goes on forever. And then sometimes you realize, oh, no, it's not gonna last forever. The sport became my life and I put it my life first. Let's put it that way. Some people think that if you put the sport first, it's hard because you can't have this, you can't have that, you have to avoid this and that. But that's not true, it fulfills you. A lot of people don't have that in life. They just work to go back home to their family in the evening. They just work to have a weekend and a holiday, to afford a house and food. It's often not with passion. So therefore, yes, I put it the sport first, but it was my passion. The motivation and the reason why you put yourself to the absolute limit changed over my whole career all the time. Like when I started as a boy, I think it was mainly to gain confidence, to make yourself a name, to beat the other guys. You know, it's just, yeah, I liked to compete when I was young. It was about beating the other guys, being stronger than them. Over the years, you also realize that there's a lot of other things. And it's not just the competition itself, it's also the journey to this world-class performance. It's the lifestyle, it's the level of freedom, it's the people you meet. Yeah, it's everything. How I approached this last year? It's very difficult to say, you know. On the one hand side, I just want to win as much races as possible. Leave the scene with the bang, you know, just not fading away and everybody sees you as somebody like a slow duck, you know, where you can't perform with the very best anymore. At the same time, of course, you want to experience it a little bit different, you know. You want to go to new places, you want to see races and go to races that you have not done before, because you have this amazing level of freedom, but you basically build yourself a golden cage. You do the same races over and over again. It's always St. George, Kraichgau, Ross or Frankfurt, 70.3 World Championships, and then Hawaii. That was my year. I loved it, no question, but it's often the same races. And that's what I'm definitely doing different this year, is like doing a lot of different races, visiting different places. The whole year was about going to a couple of the races I wanted to be for one last time, and of course to experience some new races. Even if you have like this total freedom as a professional athlete on long course, I mean, nobody tells me, oh, you have to do this race or you have to do that race. Of course, I know some sponsors would love to see me racing a certain race, but nobody forces me to do anything. So I was pretty excited to have a little bit more freedom this year. This is probably the cleanest toilet I've ever been in my whole life, in a public toilet. It's unbelievable. And to be honest, at the beginning of the year I googled Zarautz triathlon and it looked awesome. So first I was looking forward to it, but then I was in Hamburg. I was commentating that race, and I had two like really bad races in France and in Austria where I got penalties. In Austria, I kind of freaked out a little bit and ended my race basically on the bike, which was really stupid. But yeah, so I wasn't too excited to travel to Zarautz, you know. I was just like fed up with triathlon. I didn't really want to go there, but as I were already committed to it and flights were booked and everything, I went there. Really nice. I'm really happy that I went there because it was probably my last win as a professional athlete. To move is in our nature, and I think you can only enjoy the comfort of all these things if you leave the comfort zone every now and then. Like push yourself to the absolute limit. Then I really enjoy the nice things. It's not that I love to suffer. I love to suffer because later the comfort feels even better. It brings you back to the very fundamental things at one point. If you push yourself to the absolute limit, it's at one point you're hungry, you're cold, you just want to stop. If you keep going and later go back to your hotel room and you can hug your family and have some nice food, it's the best thing in the world. You know? But I think you have to step out of this comfort zone to really enjoy it. That's why I love to suffer. I think one of the things that might help me the most in a life outside of sport is knowing how close success and total failure is sometimes linked, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sebastian Kienle is already at the box soon.
Of course, a lot of people think, yeah, it might be the time when I crossed the finish line in Kona in 2014 and won the World Championship title and prove myself that I can win pretty much every race in non-drafting triathlon, but it was a total different memory. That's the memory from 10 days earlier when I thought I'll gonna leave the island because I felt so weak and I thought I would never have a chance. I just didn't believe, but I still made it happen. And I think that's what I take out of the sport is often it's just this little thing in your mind that you need to switch and it changes everything. I think to reach 90% of your potential, it's really important to use all the science and all the data and everything. But to get to full 100% of your abilities, reach the absolutely top of what you can squeeze out of your body, it's not with your power meter, it's with your heart, you know, with your mind, with your will. That's how you get to the very top, and at the end that's what decides the race. sometimes you just have to squeeze a little bit, and then it's gonna be great, but you didn't know that it's gonna be that close to being great, you know? Do you understand that? Yeah. You know, it's like swimming in an ocean where it's completely dark in the night, you know, like you can't see anything. You can't see anything. Like you don't see shit. And you just swim, but you don't know when you hit land. And then at one point you just quit, but the land was just right in front of you. Just one more stroke and you would have been there, but you don't know. So you never know, you just have to keep going. I think I'll squeeze everything out of my career that's possible. You know, I think it's difficult to realize that and to accept that, and not always live in the hope that you probably have one better year, or you know, that you can be back there for some reason, and then you're constantly unhappy with yourself because you're not have a chance anymore. You always say, I know when it's time to retire, but then it's quite difficult to listen to your body and your brain, and you realize, like, yeah, this is probably it. It's time to go. Definitely my body took quite a toll on this whole time as a professional athlete, so yeah, I think it's not that hard to say goodbye. I mean, sometimes, yeah, of course, you think like, this was great and I'll really gonna miss it, and I'll definitely gonna miss it, that's for sure, but it's also with my family now, you know, it's like I'm looking forward to not being away constantly in training camps and racing and everything, because that's also quite difficult. It definitely has changed a lot. I mean, it became much more difficult to leave, but it also became much more difficult to do the training at home, because when you're at home and then you have the family around, you want to take care about the family, but then, you know, at this time, like all the other guys that you are racing against, they are full on training. Like they're in training camps, they train 7 hours a day. I'll probably be on the trainer for an hour or so, and then I'm gonna go upstairs and have some warm drinks and a hot bath. That's something you just can't do when you're at home with your family, or you can do it, but then you have to basically live a complete life separated from them, like sleep in your own bedroom, like have your own rhythm the whole day, like don't eat with them, don't sleep in the same room, and so on. That's not something I want to do, you know. So, but then you'll go away to training camp, and then you feel homesick because you want to be with them, you want to be with your family, and so that's like really difficult. It has changed a lot. I'm definitely not that focused on the sport every day how I was before Nino was born. But then on the same time, it also gives me sometimes this little extra motivation, because I know that I'm doing the sport not just for myself, but also to provide for my family. I think, you know, both my wife and I, we have experienced so many good things in the sport, but we also learned how it can be like really against the nature of children if the parents push their children or make the children to do something just because the children thinks the parents love them because they're winning a race or something like that. I will always love my kid, you know, no matter what he's doing. Happy days! Teaching the next generation how they're doing. I mean, I already see that he definitely needs to do some sort of sport because he's quite an active kid. So I just want to let him find out what he loves. I think that's the most important thing. What I realized in the sport is, for general life, find something that you really love and you will be really good at it. And I think that's one of the most important lessons I learned with the sport is like, if you love it, you will be good. Even if you're not the biggest talent or whatever, but if you really love it, you will gonna, you know, you're gonna be able to outwork the most talented people if they don't love what they're good at. It's done. My very last race in the books, and it was a hard one. But yeah, I'm super happy how it worked out at the end. I mean, despite not making the podium, it was great to come here to Cozumel. I mean, probably wasn't important for all the people from the outside, but for me personally, it was really important to have like this one last go, and I laid it all out there. And yeah, I'm overall very happy that it's done and that I was able to finish on my own terms. Not a lot of people have the fortune to do that, so yeah, I'm very happy, and I'm also happy to hand the torch over to the next generation. I think there's a lot of like really nice guys in the sport, and especially like really fast guys. So therefore, I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with the sport in the next years, and me watching from the outside. So thank you all for following this journey, and yeah, see you out there on the other side.